Hi, good evening. Let's begin with continuation of episode 1. Raj came home late that evening. Around 6:30, students had appeared in his subject's exam that day. So it had taken him some time to count the papers and make the bundles. With the bundles under his arm, he reached home with the intention of starting to correct them immediately after his usual cup of tea. The children were up and playful. It was a pleasure to come back home to his lovely family. The couple sat down to their evening tea in the dining corner of their sitting room. Little Chitra was happily gurgling in her father's lap, and Vera was making all efforts to climb onto his lap too. What an attention seeker she is becoming. Wouldn't let her father have a cup of tea peacefully. Nima gently held the child's hand and pulled her towards her. Vera, go and play with your toys. No, I want to sit on Papa's lap. You take Chitra away, the 3-year-old persisted. Papa is tired, beta. No, Papa is not tired. He will play with me. Now don't be an adamant child and come here. The mother changed her tone to sound firm. Let her be, Nima. She needs an outing. Thou, I need to start correcting the papers. I'll take the girls out for a while after I finish the tea. No, you don't have to. You can do your corrections. Hari Ram said he will come to take Veera out to play. He's late. Maybe he's on his way. Raj stared at her. What? What did you say? Hari Ram had come in the afternoon, around 4. I told him to come in the evening and take Veera out to play. Nima reiterated. She couldn't understand the changed expression on her husband's face. She lifted her cup to take a sip. Are you sure it was Hari Ram, the peon? It could have been someone else, Raj spoke gingerly. Nima put her cup down on the saucer. Why someone else? Don't I know Hari Ram? He used to take Veera out to play so often and at times helps me with the household work. It could have been the new peon who has joined recently, Raj affirmed despite his doubts. He knew that the new peon was now here, close to resembling Hari Ram. He was short and stout, unlike the deceased man. Moreover, Nima hadn't even met the new peon. What's wrong with you, Raj? Does he think I can't recognize people well? Why are you saying that? Being away for a few months has not made me forget Hari Ram's face. When did he last come to help you? Raj spoke wearily, his heart in his mouth. Beads of perspiration had collected on his brows. Nima remained unaware of it all. He came after a long time today. Nima frowned and then said, in fact, for the first time since my return from Mandi. Did he come inside the house? Nima wondered why Raj sounded so anxious and afraid. No, he stood outside at the window. Children were asleep, so I didn't feel the need to let him in. Thou he will come now, he said so. Nima sipped tea and watched Raj looking at the window as if it was something out of this world. Why was he acting so weird? The window was still open. Beyond it, the twilight was slowly slipping into night. Only the patio pillar was faintly visible in the grey haze. The cool breeze of the mountains streamed in generously through the window, wafting a little chill. Nima couldn't grasp what was making Raj so nervous. He was trying to stand but couldn't since Veera sat on his feet. Nima, please hurry, shut the window. The desperation in his voice was palpable. Why does he want to shut out the lovely breeze? Nima reluctantly got up. She peeped out of the window. The fragrance of the blooming flowers was heavenly. She took a deep breath and lingered at the window for a few seconds. Nima, shut the window. Raj's voice rumbled, a mixture of concern and fear. Okay, okay, I am closing it. Why are you getting so worked up? Nima grudgingly closed the bolted and window and returned to finish her tea. She frowned when she took a sip. It had gone cold. She liked to drink it hot. She peeped into Raj's empty cup and then picked up her cup and moved towards the kitchen to reheat it. Raj was sitting absolutely still on his chair, looking pale and disturbed. What's gone wrong with his mood? Nima wondered. Would you like another cup of tea, dear? No. When Nima returned with her steaming cup refilled, she found Raj still sitting frozen in the same pose as she had left him. He was tightly holding on to his daughters. Chitra was peacefully playing with her father's tie. Veera had lovingly rested her head on his chest and was sucking her thumb. Is something the matter? Are you not feeling well? Nima sat down with her cup of tea. I really don't understand. Understand what? Nima lifted her cup and brought it close to her lips. Hari Ram is dead. What rubbish! He was here around 4 in the evening. She frowned. She was about to take a sip, but her hand froze in midair. Did he die after that? He seemed all right. Was it an accident? No, he died this winter when we were away. Raj spoke slowly, guardedly. He didn't want to frighten Nima, but he hadn't chosen the right moment. A choked scream escaped Nima's throat. She dropped the cup with its hot tea on her lap, scalding her thighs. The cup rolled down, crashed on the floor, and broke into fragments. The children got frightened at the clattering and their mother's sudden reaction. They began to wail. Nima's vision automatically traversed to the window. She was relieved it was shut. She was shivering and her burned thighs hurt, but she remained glued to the chair. The couple gazed at each other. Had Nima known about the man's death and then had seen his ghost, it could have been taken as a figment of her imagination, a hallucination. But she had no inkling to the fact that Hari Ram had died while she was away to Mandi. No one had bothered to let her know, for Hari Ram was a forgotten man now, out of most lives and minds. After comforting their daughters, the couple rushed to the little shrine in the corner of their bedroom. They lit a lamp, burnt a bunch of incense sticks, and offered prayers for the peace of the wandering soul. They prayed for the safety of their daughters. Please protect us. No harm should ever come to our little family. They appealed to God. Later, when Nima went to the kitchen to cook dinner, Her husband followed her with his daughters, still held protectively in his arms. The silence around their house felt unnerving. The students were busy preparing for the next day's exam, and there wasn't the usual bustle around. Nima loudly and continuously enchanted hymns to keep the restive spirit at bay. She could barely give attention to her cooking. As they sat down for dinner, Raj expressed, Nima, let's just keep quiet over the incident. There's no need to spread panic among the students. Most will not believe us anyway. Nima nodded. There was hardly anybody here with whom she shared that kind of rapport except with Mrs. Sharma, the principal's wife. She was like an older sister. But if Raj was insisting, there must be a good reason for not disclosing it. Unless the ghost appeared to more people, it may be a good idea to keep it a secret. The next few weeks went by smoothly. There were no unwanted visits, no airy visitor. The dread and dismay that the uncanny visit had caused the couple slowly began to fade from their lives. The routine at the training center went on undisturbed. None except the couple had no knowledge about a wandering spirit among them, but they had prayed for its peace and perhaps that had its effect. Hopefully, the spirit had gone to its eternal rest. The examinations at the school were over and the results were declared. The students prepared to go home, the first year batch on annual vacations, whereas the graduates would soon begin jobs. The weather was warmer than the previous month. The bushes on the hills were filled with vibrant blooms. Their exotic heavenly fragrance infused hearts with joy. Pa decided to organize a special treat for his students and a farewell for the outgoing batch. After some deliberation, he came to the conclusion that nothing would be more appealing to the young folks than the Indian cinema. It was very rare for the residents of this far removed mountainous region to be able to watch a movie. The nearest cinema hall was in Shimla, not easily accessible to all. Also, it will be a big hassle to take everyone to a theater at Shimla. So he decided to bring a cinema hall to the institution. He spoke with the director of the public relations department and he agreed to send his mobile cinema van complete with a screen projector and spools of the latest Hindi film Aankhein, starring Bharat Bhushan and Nalini Jaywant. He will also send along his technicians to set up a mini cinema hall for a day. When the announcement was made about the show, there was an air of excitement in the campus. Indian films became hot topic for discussions. The actors, the movies, the songs and the singers. The debate kept on till the cinema van arrived on Friday morning. Though the movie was to begin after lunch at 2, all students arrived from their hostel by 10 in the morning as soon as the word spread that the cinema van had arrived. They requested the canteen owner to prepare early lunch and he happily obliged. He didn't want to miss the show either, so a picnic in the lawns before the movie got added to the entertainment package. The technicians got busy setting up the movie theater surrounded by a crowd of chattering, curious, excited students. By 1:30, a big crowd had assembled outside the makeshift cinema hall. Word had spread in the 2-mile radius and many families arrived uninvited for the show. The movie was running a full house. Past contestant was marred by the fact that Ma wouldn't be joining him. She had developed a severe headache and had declared her inability to come. Another missing member was Nima Vaidya. Her infant daughter was running a fever and she had decided not to risk exposing her further. The machinery developed some snag and the movie show could begin only by 2:30. Once the black and white movie began, the excited chatter instantly died down. Although the area around Nima's house was never a crowded zone, due to the presence of the student community, it was seldom that still during the daytime. There would always be some kind of activity, sounds, and laughter around. Today, an overwhelming silence hovered on the region like hushed mist over a calm ocean. Ma swallowed a paracetamol tablet with her water and decided to take it easy. It was a rare opportunity to rest in the afternoon. All children, including the hyper youngest, were away for at least 3 hours. She made herself snug inside a quilt. Soon the medicine took effect and she was fast asleep. A kilometer away, Nima fed both her daughters. Chitra had been restive since the morning. Her fever made her cantankerous. Nima put nasal drops into her blocked nose, soothed her, sang her a lullaby, and finally managed to lull her to sleep. Vera was playing with her toys. Her sleeping hours were decreasing day by day as her curious little mind was focused on the discovery mission. It was a lovely summer afternoon with a cool and pleasant breeze blowing gently. Nima opened the window to allow fresh air inside her bedroom. She stood there, admiring the blooming flowers, even though the intense silence in the area was making her uneasy. A fleeting memory of the airy incident of last month crossed her mind, but she immediately tossed it out. Hadn't they prayed ardently for the peace of the Hariram's soul? She once again joined her hands and said a quick, silent prayer. But the loneliness depressed her today. She felt left out. She wanted to watch the movie. She had seen only two in her lifetime. That was before her children had been born. Raj hadn't even offered to stay back with the babies and allow her to go. But then he was needed to maintain discipline among the students. Nima heaved a deep sigh and withdrew from the window. Since Vera was up and playing, she couldn't lie down to rest even though her back felt stiff. There was some stitching left to be completed. She had been stitching dresses for her daughters. She kept the sewing machine on the table and sat down to work on it. An icy draught of air entered her room through the window. She shivered a little. The wheel of the hand-operated sewing machine continued moving in circles. The needle went up and down to attach the small bodies of the frock with the skirt. A sudden dimness in the light made her wonder if it was getting cloudy. She had her laundry drying on the clothesline outside. The weather in Shimla was so unpredictable. The pre-monsoon rains would start any day, declaring an end to the divine season of Shimla. Her mind kept wandering from one thought to another. Her hands deftly kept on stitching the dress. A stray dog enjoying the late afternoon sun in the porch suddenly whinnied, breaking her thought process. The whining became distant. The dog had rushed away. Had someone hurt it? How are you, Mem Saab? The voice greeted her from the window. I have come to take Veera with me. The sound was different from the last time. It was resounding and hollow, like an old, broken record. It was not a natural human voice. Nima's hand froze at the wheel of the machine. The tic-tac of the running machine was slowed down. The wheel continued to move for a while and then gradually stopped. The profound silence added to the shock. A chill was running down her spine. She couldn't dare to raise her eyes to look at the visitor. Her heart shuddered with fright. Her hands and legs trembled. Why is Hari Ram after my Veera? Where does he want to take my child? Doesn't he realize he's dead? From the corner of her eye, she noted that Veera had stopped playing with her toy. She was gazing at the window and smiling. She had recognized the visitor. Then the child slowly got up and began to move towards the window with her arms extended. On an impulse, she glanced at the window. Hari Ram wasn't like the last time. She was ghostly pale, with his eyes sunken into two large sockets. His attention was focused on Veera. A soft smile played on his lips, an enigmatic smile. Her baby was now just 4 feet away from the window. Nima screamed and jumped as if she had received 1,000 volts current. She rushed, grabbed Veera, and pulled her back. The child was shaken at the abrupt and rough treatment. She began to howl. Nima lifted her in her coat. Snatching her up, she ran towards the door. She undid the latch with a jerk, and she didn't stop to put on her slippers, didn't glance towards the visitor. Barefoot, she dashed out and into the absolutely desolate exteriors. In 10 seconds, she was running away from her house, her howling daughters tightly clutched in each of her arms. She knew no help will be available here today. She rushed straight towards the institute building, sprinting up the narrow pathway. She reached the broad, dusty road. Veera was now clinging onto her and stopped crying. But the small baby had been rudely woken from her sleep and was frightened at the abrupt and rough handling. She was wailing her lungs out. Nima was breathless, but she didn't slacken her pace. She ran like a possessed woman. Sharp stones pricked her soft feet. The bare skin got pierced by the thorns and began to bleed. Her strong instinct to save her child from the looming danger made her heedless to all physical pain. Tears streamed down her cheeks, making her almost blind. She reached the unfilled path that led to the institute building and her salvation. As she began to climb it, she slipped over a twig and lost her balance. She fell on her knees, however, prevented her daughters from getting hurt by supporting them with her elbows planted firmly on the ground. Her knees and elbows were severely bruised. She remained mindless of the injuries. She didn't even realize that she was badly hurt. With superhuman effort, she sprang to her feet again. She threw a quick glance behind her. A cloud of dust that she had produced was thinning. A shadow was clearly visible behind the dust screen, following her. She muffled her scream and ran with all her might. The path was steep and rocky, cut into broad, rough steps. With her two daughters held tightly in her grip, she sprinted on. Neither did she reduce her speed nor turn to look back again. On and on she raced till they reached outside the building. She stopped there for a moment, for she could hardly breathe now. Her head was spinning. A severe pain tightened her chest. She took a few deep breaths to steady herself and instinctively glanced to her left. Towards the path she had just traversed, the ghostly figure of Hari Ram stood at the edge of the path, expressionless and somewhat vague now, almost a translucent shadow of his original self. It was the most frightening, ghostly apparition Nima had ever seen. She shrieked and dashed towards the door, with both her hands engaged. She was momentarily at a loss how to open the door. It was then she sensed it, a sudden pressure on her left arm and a strong jerk where she was holding Vera. She tightened her grip on her daughter. "Leave her alone!" she screamed and banged the door with her head. The door was not bolted, it swung open and she stumbled into the reception area. She couldn't maintain her balance and crashed against a table, her waist taking the blow. There was no one down here, not a single person from the office staff. She rushed up in the staircase but stopped halfway. She couldn't go on, not anymore. Her waist hurt badly. Her lungs were bursting. Her arms were stiff from exertion. She couldn't hold her elder one any longer. She needed one hand to take a support of the railing. The child understood and clung onto her, giving her a free hand. Holding onto the railing, she pushed herself up and up, one step at a time, with all her might, with the last bit of her strength guided by her material instincts. The creepy scream had woken Ma up. She still lay in bed, wondering if she had been dreaming. She was unsure, but her headache was gone. She felt much better. She looked at the clock. It was close to 5. The movie should be getting over shortly. Anyway, it was also time to go to the kitchen. Children would come home hungry. It was then that she heard a desperate knock on her door. "Didi, Didi, please open the door. Didi, quick, please, hurry." Ma recognized Nima's voice. She was screaming and rasping. She sounded so awfully panicky. Ma jumped out of the bed and ran to open the door. The moment she did that, Nima swooned and fell unconscious in her arms. Ma managed to grab Chitra and prevented the baby from falling on the hard floor and getting badly hurt. Vera hopped off her mother's lap at the end moment and stood next to her, sprawled body shocked, shivering and sniveling. Ma intuitively shut the door and locked it. She then put the baby on the divan and rushed to fetch water for Nima. Her condition frightened her. Tear-stained cheeks, disheveled hair, her salwar torn at the bloated knees, arms and feet coated with mud and blood. Something terrible had happened. When she returned, Nima had regained her consciousness and was looking around her with her eyes wide open. Vera sat clinging to her mother. Nima was wheezing and trembling. She appeared so frightened that even Ma was shaken. She hadn't ever seen such intense fear in anyone's eyes. What had gone wrong with the poor Nima? Perhaps she needed a doctor. "Here, Nima, sip some water. It'll make you feel better." Nima accepted the glass of water in her shaking hands as Ma rushed towards the door to call for help. "Don't, please don't open the door." Nima could barely speak. Her hoarse, desperate whisper was terrifying. Ma halted and turned back. What was outside that had so badly frightened Nima? "Didi, don't go anywhere. Don't leave me alone," Nima cried pitiably. Tears were rolling down her cheeks. Ma was confused. whom to pacify. The baby was hysterically crying and howling, or Nima, who was sobbing and looking at her with utter helplessness. Ma returned from the door. She picked up Chitra in her arms and tried soothing the baby. Are you well, Nima? What happened? Nima swallowed a sip of water and nodded slowly from where she sat on the floor, resting against the wall. Didi, Hari Ram had come to my house, stood outside my window. He wanted to take Veera with him. He's dead, isn't he? Ma couldn't even nod. So shocked was she at what Nima was stating. She simply stared at her. Where does he want to take my baby? Nima's sobs changed into hiccups. Please don't let him take my baby away, please. She pleaded piteously and grabbed Veera to hold her tightly in her lap. Ma was by now breathing rapidly, her heart almost jumping out of her mouth. Nima raised her voice. Didi, he has followed me. He is here outside. Ma became stock still. She instinctively glanced at the window. Dusk had begun to fall on the landscape. A few stray dogs suddenly yowled. A mutter of crows rose and flew past the window, fluttering and cawing. Just then, with a loud report, a window pane of the room cracked. Ma shrieked louder than Nima, and then loudly began to chant the Gayatri Mantra in a shaky voice to keep the wandering spirit from entering house. This episode was end. The haunting was still going on. Tomorrow, with new episodes, Shadow in the Dark will start refresh. Thank you so much.